Hello and welcome to the Mighty Media GFN News Update. I'm Robert Ashley. Be sure to follow us on our social media platforms, the Robert Ashley Channel, The Robert Ashley Show. We're all over social media. We thank you for being with us. Well, President Biden made a fresh call recently for new voting protections during remarks in Selma, Alabama, to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the landmark Bloody Sunday March across the
We're marching today to dramatize to the nation, dramatize to the world, that hundreds and thousands of Negro citizens of Alabama, but particularly here in the Blight Belt area, denied the right to vote.
I was wearing a backpack before it became fashionable to wear backpacks. I thought I was going to get arrested and go to jail, so in this backpack, I wanted to have something to eat. I had one apple and one orange. I had 2 books. I had toothpaste and a toothbrush. But we understood while we were walking through the streets of Selma that the sheriff of Selma and Dallas County had requested that all white men over the age of 21 to come down to the courthouse that Saturday night to be deputized, to become part of his posse. We just kept walking. We come to the highest point on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Down below, we see a sea of blue, Alabama State Troopers. We saw all of this water down below in the Alabama River. Jose Williams said to me, "John, can you swim?" I said, "No, Jose, what about you?" He said, "A little." I said, "Well, there's too much water in this river for us to jump. We must go straight ahead." A man by the name of John Cloud identified himself and said, "I'm Major John Cloud of the Alabama State Troopers."
Be detrimental to your safety to continue this march, and I'm saying that
This is an unlawful march, will not be allowed to continue.
You are ordered to disperse, go home, or go to your church.
Disperse and return to your homes or to your church. I said, "Major, may I have a word?" He said, "There will be no word." You saw these men putting on their gas masks. He said, "Troopers, advance."
Troopers here, advance.
They came toward us, beating us with nightsticks, trampling us with horses, releasing tear gas. I was the first person to be hit. I was hit in the head by a state trooper with a nightstick. I thought I saw death. I thought I was going to die on that bridge. I thought it was my last nonviolent protest. And all these many years later, I don't recall how I made it back across that bridge to the church. I do recall being in the church. They asked me to say something to the audience, and I stood up and said something like, "I don't understand it, how President Johnson can send troops to Vietnam and cannot send troops to Selma, Alabama to protect people who only desires to register to vote."
Now, President Biden stopped there in Selma came as he and fellow Democrats have struggled to pass their own sweeping voting rights measures, with dim prospects of passage in a newly controlled Republican House. Now, amid speculation that President Biden will announce his re-election bid this year, President Biden's remarks had a flavor of a campaign speech as he ticked through what he saw as his administration's accomplishments and concluded what many consider will be a potential 2024 slogan:
As I come here in commemoration, not for show, Selma is a reckoning. The right to vote, to have your vote counted, is the threshold of democracy and liberty. With it, anything's possible. Without it, without that right, nothing is possible. and this fundamental right remains under assault. We must remain vigilant. In January, I signed the Electoral Count Reform Act to protect the will of the people and the peaceful transfer of power. But we know that we must get the votes in Congress to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. I made it clear I will not let a filibuster obstruct the sacred right to vote, the right of any other right to vote from there.